Sometimes we get criticized for being frustrated or angry, and oftentimes anger is seen as problematic or bad, and oftentimes children are scolded for getting angry and being angry. But what a lot of people don't realize is that anger is a natural and important emotion. Over the years, I've realized that I haven't been allowing myself to feel angry, and I've been suppressing this emotion. And doing so has been bad for my well-being. Anger is important because our body is telling us that something needs to change. Now, we can't go on the extreme of being too angry, but we can't also go on the other extreme of not allowing ourselves to get angry at all, because anger isn't purely bad. And I feel like I was on the other extreme where I was told not to get angry at all, and I was taught that being angry was inherently problematic. And I feel like I was taught not to get angry because it's easier to manage children who are calm than it is to manage children who are angry. And I ended up becoming the most calm person in my family, in my immediate family. But when I was growing up, I was told that I needed to be in control and that I needed to be in charge, that I had to be mature, raise the family, and be like a paternal figure. And for some reason, I equated being mature with being calm and composed. But I thought I had to be calm and composed all the time, and that I couldn't allow myself to get frustrated or ticked off, that I needed to reach a level where I was so calm that nothing could get to me, which is very unrealistic. It's impossible because we're human beings. Humans get angry, humans get sad, they get depressed, they get happy, they get elated. There are distractions. You can't always be calm and level-headed. Something will always happen to remove that. You cannot always be calm and focused and level-headed. And the ironic thing is that there are a lot of angry people in my family, but I feel like there's a problem in the Asian, particularly South Asian, Desi culture and family dynamics, because the way it works is that you're not allowed to talk back to the elders. If there's a person that's older than you, then they have the right to get angry at you and even insult you. But you're not allowed, as a younger person, to say anything back to them or to disrespect them or to insult them back. So there's this inherent power dynamic between the elders and, the youth. If you're younger, you just have to suck it up and take it. For you to say something is seen as extremely disrespectful. Even if that person is unjustified, as the younger person, you're told to hold your tongue, which is kind of ironic because, you'd expect the older person to be more mature and understanding and wise enough to not vent and take their anger and frustration out on someone else. But the onus is on the youth to stay quiet and hold their tongue. What this ends up doing is creating a vicious cycle of poor anger management that's passed on. So now you have children who have repressed their anger and feelings in front of the adults for a very long time. But now, when those children become adults, they don't know how to manage their anger because they've never been taught. The anger's been bottled up for a very long time. When they grow up and have children, that anger is taken out on the people that are younger than them or their children. The youth and the children especially are the easy targets because they can't do anything back. They're not allowed to do anything to you. They're not allowed to talk back. They're not supposed to do anything. So they're vulnerable and you could just take your anger out on them. So they start taking their anger out on their children. So the oppressed become the oppressors. The suppressed become the suppressors. They become the aggressors. It's kind of poetic in a sad kind of way. They grew up not knowing what to do when they got angry because they were just told to hold it in. So what do when they're adults? They snap at someone. They take it out on someone else. They vent. They not only vent, but they harm others. They insult others. The youth and children are often easy targets because culturally they can't do anything about it. Even if they present a logical argument or a counter to your anger, is just tossed out the window. It's disrespectful to talk back. It's like this meme that when you present a logical argument, it tastes like disrespect. I was no exception. I was taught not to talk back to my parents or to any elders. I was taught to be respectful and not to get angry. But all these years I've been repressing my anger, and I was never taught about the relationship between getting frustrated and angry and being assertive. And then when that anger reaches a boiling point and starts tipping over, I don't know what else to do apart from distract myself. I've begun to see the benefits of anger. And what are these benefits that I keep teasing you guys about? Anger by itself is not harmful. A knife by itself is neutral. You can use it for good. You can use it to chop up some fruits. You can use it to chop vegetables, make a meal for yourself, or you can use it to cut flesh and harm others and yourself. It's not the anger, it's what you do with the anger that makes a difference. Being angry can help you share your concerns and express what's on your mind, because sometimes people will ignore us And if we feel frustrated by that, that's totally normal. It's totally understandable. That just means that our mind, our body is telling us that we need to find another way to get our voice heard, or we need to do something about the situation. Anger can help prevent people from walking over us. Some people, plenty of people, will take advantage of us if we don't do anything about it, or we can lose the fruits of our labor. So one example is of a robotics class that I took once. Now, I fell behind, I had no idea what was going on, and we had a final project coming up, and it was worth a significant chunk of our grade. So now, it was a group project, so I volunteered to stay in school late after the day was over and figure out how to do this project. So each afternoon until the evening, I would stay in class and I would go to the robotics room and try to figure out what I was missing. I'd ask other classmates, I would try to study and figure out how to do the project. There were other people who were behind too, not just in my class. Now, but there was one other group that was also behind, and for their group, they also had one guy show up and try to finish the project. But that guy showed up like maybe once or twice in that like entire week or in that entire span. But I showed up every single day to try and finish that project. So in the end, our robot failed to do what it was supposed to do. There was a specific task that we had to program the robot to do, and I wasn't able to do that. And we were being graded on our effort and like our idea of the code itself, not just the final result. But there was another group who performed even worse than our robot did. The group that I was talking about, where that one guy showed up a day or two to help out. But that group, one of the group mates, they were going through some type of circumstance or problem, and the teacher forgave them for that, and they were let off. Now, what ended up happening was they got a 100 on the final project, and in the class, despite everything, I got an 88, even though I showed up every single day, actually put in effort and tried to finish the project. It seemed unfair that I was putting in more effort and time and I was getting a lower grade. That was frustrating, but had I used my anger and frustration to its full potential, I probably could have gotten a better grade just by talking to the teacher. He was reasonable enough to give them a good grade because of their circumstances. They showed effort and came in after class to finish, but I didn't talk to him. I just brushed it under the rug and I said, it's no big deal. I could have fought for my rights. That 88 was the lowest grade on my transcript. I got an 88 in the class. I could have gotten a better grade because of the effort I put in. I could have jumped up in the class rank as well. Probably brought down my GPA significantly. But I told myself it was no big deal, and I didn't say anything. I didn't advocate for myself, even though there were benefits to doing so. I actually wouldn't have lost anything if I did it. Even if I lost something, it still would have been worth it had I gotten the fruits of my labor and gotten a better grade. But anger can motivate you to do something positive, to fight for your rights. Many of us aren't taught how to manage our anger or to even identify it, because our parents probably don't know how to do that either. Anger can also tell others that it's important to listen to us, or we have something important to say, that it'd be a good idea to listen to our words or actions. Let's say you know something that you want others to know. That anger can give us a sense of urgency. But of course, if you're just yelling at everyone, then no one's going to listen to you. Asserting ourselves and telling someone that they just cut us in line will give us our space at a grocery store. Or telling the waiter that they got our order wrong feels bad, but it's actually just advocating your rights, something that you're entitled to. If you ask for something at a restaurant according to the menu, then it's their job to give you what you asked for. It's this recurring idea of being more assertive because of our anger or frustration. It's just a sign that something's not right and that we should speak up. Also, in the short term, anger can make children more likely to listen to us in the short term. So I'll illustrate an example. So children are always running around and they're very energetic and they don't know how to assess danger, especially when crossing the street. Many of them don't look both ways when they cross the street. They just run onto the street, and this is dangerous for obvious reasons. And there have been some horrific and tragic accidents because of this. A child just runs in between a car onto the road and they get hit by a car and they die. I remember we were in a parking lot, my family and I, and my younger brother, who's 7, before the car pulled into the parking spot was right here. The car was about to pull in, and then there's a row over here, there's a row of parking over here, there's a row of parking over here. Our car is going to pull in here into this row. There's a spot here. And now, so we get out before the car pulls in. So we're getting out of here. We're getting out of the car. But now, there's a car coming from here. And when we get out of the car, I know that there's a car coming from there because I saw it. And now my younger brother, who gets out, doesn't pay attention. And I always warn him not to run when there are cars around. But he gets out, and as soon as he gets out, he makes a run for it in this direction where there's a car coming. So now I yell at him as loud as I can, and I hate yelling. I never like to yell. I rarely, if ever, do it, but I yell at him because I've told him so many times and he's just running into danger, basically. He freezes in his tracks. He is shook. Before he could even pass the car, he stops. He stops before he even runs into the danger. Because of that anger, because of that urgency, I was able to stop him. I don't know if the car would have hit him. I don't know if it was coming fast enough, but I didn't have to find out. Anger can galvanize us to act. Ultimately, it's important for us to reflect upon what makes us angry, what really makes us angry, and why. It's important to understand these things. How can we manage that anger? What can we do to express it in healthy ways? Talking or doing an action. How can we resolve the issue rather than ignore it or pretend that it's not there? Because bottling it up will force all of that stress, will force all of those emotions into one tight spot. And that will just stress us out. Either that or we'll snap at someone. It's okay to be angry. It's not okay to hurt others because we're angry. But even if you do so, people make mistakes. We're only human at the end of the day. And anger isn't something that we should just ignore and put to the side, because that would be extreme. It's a natural emotion. Anger is a sign that we don't like the way things are going. And we need to figure out for ourselves how we can change that. And that's all for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, show your support, share it with your friends, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.